In today's beading lesson, I want to give you an idea for using your loom in a slightly different way. If you take a look at the bracelet here, this is the inspiration for today's project. And I created this using leather as the warp on the loom. And a lot of times, you think about building that warp from thread. This is something that you can whip up in an evening while you're sitting in front of the TV. It's very meditative kind of work that repeats and repeats and repeats. But there is something a little bit different about setting up your loom. So what you'll do to get started is you're going to use about 1 millimeter leather. Now this comes in a lot of different colors and it's very durable, so you can use it for a project like this. You'll start out by tying it on the back of your warp, the back of your loom. Then you're going to bring it to the front. And this has the rod inside, and that's to make sure that it keeps really tight tension while you warp the loom. So bring it down, and you can count your spaces across. Just get it pretty straight and even, and pull it tight. Then I'm leaving 2 spaces in between each, and that's to leave enough space for my beads that I want to add. I'm going to bring this around and around. Then we're going to hook it on the back and bring it back over the top. And especially when you're using leather cord, when you hook it, then that is what is going to save you a little bit on your supplies. Bring it down and around, and then hook it on the back. Then we're going to tie this in a knot here at the back as well. So I'll just bring my leather cord through my loop and tie a little knot here to make it nice and secure on the back of my loom. So this is the traditional way that you would warp, is all the way across, but because this has a little button here, you can just go back and forth over the top. So it just shows you a little bit of a difference between how to do the warp on this type of a loom using that button. Now when you're ready to start working, then you just remove the rod from the middle of the loom and you're ready to go. So what you'll do first is create a little bit of a selvage here at the bottom. And the way that you create a selvage is to place your thread under, over, under, over, if you're working from this side. Some people prefer to work from the other side. You want to start out with about 2 yards worth of thread. And I'm using a thermally bonded beading thread and a needle that's long enough to do looming. So this is important right here to maintain the space between your leather cords, because you want to make sure that you don't make it too tight or your beads won't be able to fit through there. Let's pull this out of the way here. So pull this across and keep working your way back and forth. Now when you're ready to start beading, this is going to start tightening up even more. So let's get some crystals here. These are some 4 millimeter rounds that I'm using, mixing together with some seed beads. Let's get some onto my mat. It's helpful to have all of your beads stashed and ready to go. Let's bring this around across so that we can get back to the other side and then pull our beads onto the needle. There we go. So now it's going to be 3 crystals across, and we'll place that directly underneath the warp that we made. So pulling these under with your finger and pressing it up between our cords. You can see this is a little bit finagly to get it started, but once you get going, it's all going to start coming together. So we've got our 3 beads placed in between, and this is an important tip here, is to always make sure that your beads are pressed up as far as they can be. You want to make sure that you're using the right size beads for your cording, because otherwise the holes will be buried underneath the cord. So you can see the needle is going across the top of the leather here, and then in through the next bead, and then we're going to bring it out and around the base to start our lines across the loom. So it's there. Now that I can get my tension, see how it's laying right across. Now we're going to add some more beads. So we'll just do a few seed beads here. And this is going to help with our spacing as we work our way out the bracelet. We've got 3, 6. That's just perfect because our space is for 2 seed beads in between each leather cord. So I pop them up here between like we did before. And again, it's going across with our needle so that we can get it through our second row. And then your pattern is just going to be repeating your crystals and your seed beads across the length of the bracelet. And you want to factor in whatever type of clasp you're going to use. So you can see it's starting. Now, when this is all finished, you're going to add some jeweler's cement here to the selvage on both ends. And this is one that I've finished that's dry. So I wanted to be sure to show you how to remove this from the loom. And what you'll do is press the loom so that there's tension is relaxed off of your piece, and then just go ahead and cut through your cords. And once this is cut, then you can trim it so that it will fit inside of whatever clasp you want to use. So this clasp I have here is wide enough that it will pass over my cords and my selvage. So I just need to trim my cords a little bit shorter. And then I'm going to add some industrial strength glue and glue it right to the end. So let's trim these ends away and then add some glue and press this into place. You could also use epoxy here. That would be a really good glue choice as well. And E6000 is a good industrial type of glue that you can use for this. Just press it in. Oops, I cut it a little bit too short or too long. So now I want to go back and trim this up a little bit more. You could also fold a piece of leather over these exposed cords here, or create a really long selvage so that all of it is covered inside of the clasp. And there you have a fun, trendy loomed bracelet that you can make in an evening.